A very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the very first BEX Asia Masterclass for 2024. I trust everyone is in high spirits this midweek Wednesday. We had 14 masterclasses last year, and this will be the first one for today, or rather for the year. Now, the BEX Asia Masterclass series has been curated to address the pressing challenges that the built environment industry face today. Everything from energy efficiency to construction technology, these are topics under the sun that we shall be covering so that we can continue to expand the knowledge of the built environment industry professionals. Now, today I am pleased to have with me Mr. Giles Chua from SP Digital. Giles started his professional career as a project engineer before moving on to business development and accounts management. He has over 10 years of experience in built environment sectors such as commercial buildings and data centers. Very hot topic these days, data centers with all the AI popping up. Now, Giles will be sharing with us today on the topic enabling greener towns and buildings with digital and sustainable energy solutions. So may I invite Giles to turn on his camera and microphone and say hello to the crowd.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Thanks to Jaime for the introduction. That was a very unflattering picture of myself, unfortunately. Okay, hold on, let me try to share my screen.
All right. Okay, while Giles is switching out to his screen, ladies and gentlemen, there's a bit of some admin notes I'd just like to share. Before I hand over to Giles, during this masterclass, it will last for an hour. And if you have any questions, please use the Q&A function within Zoom to ask them. We shall take questions at the end of Giles' presentation. So, Giles, whenever you're ready, it's over to you.
All right, thanks again, Jaime. So hi everyone, good afternoon. Before I start, I'd like to thank all of you for taking time off your busy afternoon schedules to be here today. My name is Giles, and I'm really excited at this opportunity to be able to share with you what SP Group is doing within the sustainable space. I know that it's past 3 p.m. right now, and this is a time where the Z monster usually attacks, right? So therefore, I really hope to make this an engaging sharing session. So if you have any questions, like what Swami mentioned, please raise it in the chat box, and I will try to address those questions at the end of the session. Yep. So before I begin, I just want to share with you one of the very common questions that I get from friends and relatives when they know that I'm working in the SP Group, right? So the question will always be, oh, do you get any special discounts of your utility bills? So unfortunately, no, I do not get any extra discounts or special discounts. I pay the same rate as any regular household owner outside there. Okay, so today I'll be sharing on how SP Group supports organizations on their sustainable and digital transformation journey, as well as empowering consumers to take actions and collectively achieve the national sustainability goals. So I'm sure all of you are familiar with how climate change will cause thermal discomfort, especially in a tropical country like Singapore. So climate change has far-reaching effects, drought, rising sea levels, extreme weather patterns, and even lack of food. So according to the United Nations World Food Programme, there are around 828 million of people that goes to bed hungry every night. And out of these 828 million people, 50 million of these people are on the edge of famine. And usually there are three key drivers that can lead to a severe food crisis. Number one is conflicts. So we have seen it in Yemen, we have seen it in the Russia and Ukraine war, and more recently in Israel. COVID-19, I think majority of the countries around the world, they are still reeling from the economic effects of this pandemic. And lastly, climate change. This is why all of us are here today. Even though you and I, we are unable to resolve global conflicts or reduce the reeling effects of the pandemic, right? But I think SP Group, we are in a good position as a utilities company to have an impact on climate change. So you're seeing the climate stripes chart, which visually portrays long-term temperature trends. So if you look at this chart, you can see that global temperatures have increased by over 1.2 degrees Celsius over time. And closer to home in Singapore, we are not spared from the impacts of climate change as well. As you can see from the chart, between 1980 to 2020, the annual temperature in Singapore has risen from 26.9 degrees Celsius all the way to 28 degrees Celsius. And at this rate, we may even experience temperature that are above 40 degrees Celsius, which is really, really hot. And according to Singapore's National Climate Change Secretariat, there will be other significant impacts to Singapore other than experiencing hot and uncomfortable temperatures. So the first impact, rising sea levels. This is of immediate threat to Singapore. I mean, based on the fact that we are a low-lying island. The second is water resources. Because of extreme weather patterns, it will lead to period of drought, sudden episodes of intense rains, and at the end, it will affect the reliability of Singapore's water supply, which is our most precious resource. Biodiversity and greenery. So an increase in 1 to 2 degrees in temperature, right, could actually put Singapore's greenery and wildlife at risk. And this will actually alter the natural ecosystem. The fourth effect on public health. So diseases such as dengue fever, it usually happens during the warmer period of the year. So we have frequent severe instances of warm weather that may lead to heat stress and discomfort among our elderly and the sick. The fifth impact, urban heat island effect. So urban areas are generally warmer due to the replacement of natural land cover with buildings or infrastructures that actually retain or produce heat. So this can also lead to heat stress and an increased dependency on using air conditioning. And this will in turn increase Singapore's energy demands. And lastly, food security. So a small increase in temperature can also disrupt crop growths around the region. And this will eventually impact our entire food supply chain. So I hope most of you are familiar with SP Group, and not just because we pay our monthly residential utility bills to them. We have recently updated our tagline from powering the nation to empowering the future of energy. So this embodies our purpose and ambition to create a climate resilient and low carbon future. So we are organized into 4 key pillars. The first pillar, district cooling. The second pillar, energy services, which consists of clean energy and microgrid solutions. The third pillar, mobility solutions. And the last pillar is digital technologies, which encompasses digital products and your rack platform. I'll dive into each of these pillars, starting with district cooling. So district cooling is an essential solution for Singapore to achieve our sustainability goals. Most buildings in Singapore, they operate their own chiller plants, as most of you know, but it just does not have the economies to run efficiently. So district cooling, on the other hand, is an efficient way of providing cooling through the aggregation of multiple cooling plants, resulting in freeing up precious space for other purposes. So SP Group, we own and we operate the world's largest underground district cooling network located in Marina Bay area. And today, we are providing chilled water to more than 25 of our customers. So just to give you a sense of how extensive the network is, we have more than 5 kilometers of network pipes laid underground, which serves the Marina Bay and the CBD areas. So this network actually spans from the floating platform all the way down to Anson Road. And as you all know, Singapore, we are a land-scarce country. Brownfield built environment makes up majority of the urban landscape that we have. And cooling energy actually accounts for up to 50% of the total building's energy consumption, and in some cases, even more than 50%. So through our engineering and operational excellence in Marina Bay, we decided to take on the challenge of introducing what we call a distributed district cooling, or DDC, in a brownfield setup. So for those of you who reside in Tampines, exciting times are coming our way as part of the Tampines Eco-Town initiative. So in April 2022, SP Group, supported by Temasek, Tampines GRC, and the MSE, announced the Tampines DDC, where in the first phase, 7 existing buildings will be retrofitted to plug into a DDC network. So by interconnecting all these different buildings, we are able to leverage on efficient chillers to provide chilled water to the entire network. And the most important point of this network is that this network will also achieve annual energy savings of more than 2.8 million kilowatt hours, which can power more than 900 three-room HDB households for a year. So this is pretty significant. So today, SP Group, we are the largest district cooling provider in Singapore. And other than Marina Bay area, the Tampines Ecotown, and more recently Tengah, we are also working across other districts such as commercial, industrial, and the different business parks. So through our district cooling projects, we are looking at approximately 158,500 tons of carbon abatement per year. So this is actually equivalent to the annual carbon sequestered by approximately 8 million trees. For some context, right, in Singapore, we have slightly over 7 million trees. And this is also equivalent to removing 145,000 cars off the road per year. But unfortunately, I don't think this will have any impact on our COE pricing. And lastly, which is also very significant, is that it can also reduce 5% of Singapore's households' total consumption per year. So the reason we are working so hard, right, to proliferate district cooling is because of the significant carbon abatement opportunities it presents. So moving on to the second pillar, renewables. So renewables is a scarce resource in Singapore. And at SP Group, we take an approach of optimizing utilities consumption use before introducing scarce resources such as renewables. So for example, in Tuas, we are enabling Southeast Asia's largest solar-powered shipyard, deploying 8.5 megawatt peak of solar PVs, coupled with digital technologies to optimize the use of renewables. And now switching gears, pun not intended, to talk about our mobility solutions. So SP Group, we are also the largest fast charging EV network operator in Singapore today. We have more than 1,250 charging points across more than 360 locations island-wide. And approximately 30% of our network is equipped with DC fast charging capabilities. So like for an average EV, right, for them to charge from 0 to 80% on a single DC charge, it takes about approximately 30 minutes. And embedded within the SP Group's very own app, the SP app, users are also able to conveniently locate EV chargers, charge their vehicles, and then pay. And to date, we have over 1.6 million of downloads as well. So the SP app also serves as a green app that enables consumers to lead a sustainable lifestyle, making their own foray into a low carbon future. So you'll notice that in the earlier three pillars that I've shared about how sustainability and digital technologies come together. So before I share more, I'd like to share a video that provides an overview of SP Digital's GET suite of solutions. Please enjoy. I hope you guys have enjoyed the video. So SP Digital's Green Energy Tech, or in short, GET, is a suite of solutions that brings about improved operational efficiency, energy efficiency, and occupant well-being. So for today's sharing session, I'll focus on just two modules, which is GET Insights and GET Control. But I thought it'd be good I'll just give you a snippet of each of these different solutions under our entire suite, so that you get a rough idea what kind of other solutions SP Digital has to offer. So I'll start from the solution on the left, Get Insights, right? So Get Insights, it provides user with near or real-time visibility and insights to your utilities consumption. Get Tenant Care, where we help landlords to digitalize their back-end tenant utilities infrastructure to help the landlord bill more efficiently and also provide a certain level of revenue assurance. Get Control is a self-learning building intelligence system which helps our customers optimize the way they use their air cons by implementing controls through artificial intelligence while leveraging on IoT and machine learning capabilities. So Get Engaged is like an eco board where our customers usually display key sustainable information, and they'll place this very modern looking and intuitive dashboards at areas with high footfalls, whether is it their main lobby, their main lift lobby, or the reception, or even their own offices, so they can provide an engagement with their own colleagues or even visitors that come and visit their property. And lastly, Get Mobility, like the name suggests, it's an intelligent and reliable CSMS for users to actually better manage their charges. So in Singapore, people are our most valuable resource. So can you imagine, let's say your current office, you have some suboptimal air conditioning and ventilation. If the office is constantly too hot or too cold, all these resulting distractions from thermal discomfort can actually cause stress and irritation, which can probably negatively affect employees' productivity. So of course, there are some financial implications of this, is that it's quite significant, and I feel that it's essential to focus on improving your indoor environmental quality, and this has been made even more critical with the pandemic. So Get Control, we have a module called Dynamic Airside Cooling that will sense on local parameters such as your temperature, your humidity, your CO2, your lux, IAQ, occupancy, etc., and transmit the data to our AI algorithm, which resides in the cloud. So this AI algorithm also takes into account IoT parameters such as the weather. So whether is it sunny, whether is it rainy, or whether is it cloudy. It also takes into account the weather forecast. So whether in a couple of hours is it still going to be sunny, rainy, or there'll be a drastic change in weather, right? It also considers your XYZ geographical coordinates of your property. So why do we need to know your property? You might be thinking. It's actually to determine which side of your building the sun is shining at. So with all this data at our fingertips, the algorithm will then churn out instructions to operate the air conditioner at the most optimized level. So our Get Control solution will improve airflow and thermal comfort, and you will also see a level of increase in your energy efficiency as the equipment optimizes according to all these different demands and scenarios. So just want to share a use case with the audience today. So this is a Grade A commercial building located in the heart of our CBD. So they have been getting very frequent feedback of hot and cold spots in their office due to external weather and constant aircon settings. So whenever their team has to rectify all these issues, they have to perform manual adjustments to address these sudden changes. So through the implementation of Get Control, this organization, they aim to drive employee experience. Obviously, they want to resolve their thermal discomfort issues and at the same time, advance the sustainability goals of the organization. So we implemented Get Control at this particular property, and we worked with the HR team. We did some surveys, and we have seen a 20% improvement in occupant comfort. And furthermore, they achieved 18% cooling energy savings. Of course, hearing from me is one thing, right? But to hear directly from one of our customers themselves on this particular solution is another. So hear what CDL has to say on our Get Control solution.
CDL is committed to exploring smart and sustainable solutions to support our decarbonization efforts. In line with our efforts to connect a building sustainability performance with the incorporation of smart technology, we are delighted to collaborate with SP Digital on a pilot project to implement the innovative Get Control solution in one of our office floors at Republic Plaza.
SP Digital was tasked to deliver in 3 key areas: optimize energy usage, enhance occupant comfort, drive sustainability. We activated Get Control, the intelligent IEQ control system for enhanced occupant comfort, optimized energy usage, and operational efficiency. Installation was smooth and hassle-free, incorporating smart, compact units. Get Control is modular and can be deployed in a minimally invasive, scalable manner. The large office space is divided into micro-zones with smart devices, with individual airflow control on each air conditioning diffuser. Smart sensors continuously monitor the temperature and humidity to optimize energy efficiency and comfort. Airflow speed can be easily adjusted along with temperature set points. Get Control uses AI and IoT to dynamically regulate the air conditioning based on changes in occupancy and weather conditions. The result is evenly cooled spaces and enhanced occupant comfort with greater energy efficiency. Get Control also provides CDL with real-time data and insights 24/7, enabling proactive monitoring and remote control capabilities.
The Get Control solution improves our existing air conditioning and ventilation system via its dynamic chill, water balancing, and outside air optimization features, together with our EC Plus fans installed at the AHU, resulting in 23% total energy savings. With predictive analytics to optimize comfort for building users and building efficiency, we also saw a 15% improvement in occupants' thermal comfort as the office temperature was kept between 23 to 25 degrees Celsius. We look forward to building partnerships with like-minded providers like SP Digital to achieve our decarbonization targets through innovative green energy tech solutions.
SP Digital, delivering innovative green energy tech solutions that empower the future of energy for everyone.
Yep, so I hope this has provided you a better understanding of how Get Control can impact your operational efficiency, energy efficiency, and occupants' well-being in a positive manner. And now on to the next module, which is Get Insights. So as the saying goes, you cannot manage what you can't measure. So Get Insights enables analytics and measurement of your utilities consumption. So traditionally, right, data are spread across various siloed systems in your property. And in most cases, even the meters are manually read. So what Get Insights does is that it brings the data of all these different systems together, coupled with automating the meter reading process as well, to provide users with a holistic view of their property's utilities consumption. So this will enable users, right, to see the current state's baseline and create performance indicators. And furthermore, Get Insights will be able to support regulatory reporting, such as your ESG reporting, carbon reporting, which will be vital in the coming years. So at SP Group, we often take a three-step approach with our customers. The first thing we do is we do a baselining, meaning we understand the current state of your utilities consumption. And then we move on to the second step, which is we will optimize, whereby we introduce technologies to make an impact in your utilities consumption. So such technologies are like, Get Control solution. And lastly, we will monitor and access the results of all these technologies that were implemented. So this is actually an ongoing and iterative process as we continuously introduce more technologies to impact your utilities consumption. So I've almost come to the end of my presentation and sharing. So before I end this session today, right, I'd like to leave you with two very important questions. The first question is, which would you choose? I really hope that most of us have chosen not only the right choice, but towards a better tomorrow. And I know that while most people think that their individual contributions will not have any significant impact on sustainability, I think otherwise. I believe that the collective effort of many, right, will actually ultimately make the difference. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for your attention and time, and I really hope that this was a fruitful sharing with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Giles. Let me just make sure my camera is back on. Yes. All right, interesting thing to know, right? It's not SP Digital just doesn't charge me, sends me the bill every month for my utilities, but you also do a lot more intelligent stuff for the sustainability in built environment. Maybe what I found quite interesting personally, right, was a number of things. When you mentioned before your DAB, where you were showing the various hotspots within the office, and then after the installation of DAB, you are able to ensure that the office is pretty much, there's no hot spots, there's no cold spots, right? I think it's always that um tension in the office when someone says it's too cold, someone says it's too hot, and then you're fighting over the remote. So that's great. And I think the other one that you mentioned was interesting to me was the ESG reporting, where your systems can integrate with ESG reporting.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. And that's really important because the Singapore government has really said that ESG reporting will soon be required for large companies, even if they're not non-listed companies, they will still have to do ESG reporting. So this will be something that everybody needs to start looking into and planning for ahead.
Yeah.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have some questions coming in via the Q&A, and we also have questions that were submitted during registrations. So let me take those questions, Giles, through those questions. I'll start with one of these questions first, right, Giles, which is, how can a construction company be part of building greener towns and buildings?
This is a really good question, right? So I mean, in my opinion, construction companies are very integral in playing a part in building greener towns and buildings. So why do I say that? So based on BCA's latest GM Green Mark 2021 standard, I think there's a section called Whole Life Carbon, which actually looks at the entire project's carbon footprint with a focus on embodied carbon. So as a construction company, I personally feel that you are in the driving seat to actually propose or select different sustainable construction materials with low concrete usage index, or CUI, right, in your projects. So and at the same time, you're also able to adopt sustainable building systems, which minimizes resource use and wastages as well. So that being said, I think there are many other categories under this whole life carbon section, which can be found on BCA's website, where I really believe that construction companies have an important role to play. So I hope my answer addresses your questions. Sorry.
Right. Now, I'm going to expand on that question a little bit, Giles, if you don't mind, because you mentioned construction companies. So, of course, for new greenfield projects, you can work together with SP Digital and you can work with the architects and the engineering consultants at the early stage to make sure that whatever new buildings we're going to make will be an energy efficient building, super low energy, or even a net positive energy building, right?
Yep.
But what about old buildings? We can't be tearing down old buildings, right? So there's a lot of conversations these days about adaptive reuse. And you shared earlier what you did with CDL. How easy is it this actually leads to another question from the audience right now, which is how easy, or rather what kind of challenges would you find to retrofit green solutions to a 10-year-old factory with conventional VRV AC units? How easy is it to integrate your solutions to current existing buildings?
So from a implementation perspective, right? I feel that for our get controls, like in particularly get control solution, since you're talking about the air conditioners, right? It is actually very simple and straightforward to install. So there are a couple of reasons why. So the first reason is for get control solution, it's predominantly a wireless solution. So that means we do not need to install our devices and equipment, and then we install long cables which flies across all the different levels or on your risers. So that's one of the biggest advantage of the get control solution, where it is wireless, meaning that we are actually very I would say non-intrusive to your current infrastructure. So this has been this is why we have been gaining some traction, or let's say gaining major traction in the brownfield space, I would say. So many customers, when they approach us, this is their common question, where they feel that, mine is an old building. Will you need to invade all my or intrude in my current risers? You need to open all my ceilings to fly all the different cables around, right? So the answer is no, because predominantly ours is a wireless solution. It's an IoT solution, which is why we are gaining such an advantage in the brownfield space. So I hope that addresses this particular question.
Yeah, that's great because I think the building stock in Singapore is increasingly getting older, and there's a lot of work and opportunities for building owners to look into adapting IoT solutions to improve the
That's right.
efficiency of their building without having to tear everything down apart, right?
Yeah, and I think Swami, just to add a point on that, I think under the whole life carbon section, right, there's also a category of reusing what you can reuse in a brownfield setup when you're like doing some major retrofitting or A&A works. So I think there's one section under the whole life carbon as well.
All right. Now, another question that came in through during registration is, how can digital help save more energy?
How can digital help save more energy? So like what I shared in my presentation earlier, you can't manage what you can't measure, right? So going digital will actually provide you with the very important thing that you need, data, which in turn gives you an accurate representation of how you're actually consuming your energy. With all these information and data, you're then able to identify certain high consuming areas or equipment and proceed with implementing certain optimization processes or even planning for an equipment overhaul, due to the lifespan of the equipment. So all these are only made possible with data. So so you have to go digital and we can help you save energy.
Right. So without, like what you say, you can't manage what you don't know, right? Earlier.
That's right.
Okay. Now, and another question here is, what are the latest technologies that people can use for commercial interior renovations?
So one of the solutions that or rather we have received quite a few inquiries on this is how do they retrofit some of the green and sustainable solutions in their renovation plans, right? So I think the most obvious case would be our get control solution, and this is actually a real use case where it's actually initiated by a tenant. They came across our solution, we discussed, and there were actually major benefits of the get control solution, not just to the tenant, but to the landlord as well. So obviously the tenant will enjoy benefits such as improve in the occupant comfort. They will feel I would say they'll feel that the temperature is more distributed across their office space. But for the landlord, there's also benefits as well because the way get control is being designed, is being programmed and configured, right? We actually help to increase the efficiency of your chiller plants as well. And how we do it is because we optimize the way the air conditioning is being run, using less resources to actually perform to keep the comfort level at the optimal level. Yeah, so get control can be one of the solution.
Right. So you don't have to run your chiller at full
Full load, yeah.
full load, but based on the occupancy as well as the distribution of heat within the building itself. Those are the insights. Okay, great. Now, how can someone get started and identify suitable and relevant metering points for energy management?
Okay, so usually when I get this question from customers, right? So a good start is always targeting the top consumers, the top major consumers in your property. So usually a good start will be maybe you can account to maybe 80% of your total consumption. And the culprits are usually the same. The heating equipment, the cooling equipment, if you have many IT equipments. So all these are the usual culprits that will consume the most energy within your property. And from implementation perspective, this is usually fairly straightforward and cost-effective solution that will provide you the first level of visibility on how you're actually using consuming your utilities. So you can identify like high consuming areas or waste or even potential wastages, right? And implement an optimization process on it to actually achieve increased energy efficiency.
And I guess it's a bit related to the earlier question. Is it necessary to replace the ducting and the VAV boxes for you to be able to get to use the solutions?
So usually what we will do is we'll try not to replace any equipment that are still in serviceable condition, right? I mean, this is just to increase the entire economical value of the entire project. So let's say you have existing equipment, be it a VAV box, be it actuators or even ductings. As long as they are still in working condition, it still can be used. We will just try to reuse as much as we can. But of course, if let's say there are some issues with the equipment, whether the ducting has really degraded or the VV box has been totally like non-functional, then we will propose to replace those equipments.
So even if, let's say, your existing metering infrastructure is still good, there's no real need for you to replace them, even if you're going to use one of your other solutions, like I think Get Insights, was that?
Yeah, that's correct. So like if you let's say you have some meters already in your that's present in your property, right? Of course we need to check like what meters is it, whether it can communicate via open protocols such as Modbus, BACnet, etc. If the meters are like similar to the VB boxes and actuators, if they're in a serviceable condition, we'll try to reuse your meters and try to change as little as we can to your current setup.
Okay. Now, I think one of the important questions here, and this is both live questions as well as from the pre-registered questions here. What is the ROI? What's the expected ROI payback period after such investments into your solutions?
Yeah, this is one of the most common question that we always get as well. So I mean, honestly speaking, right? For let's talk about Get Insights first. The ROI for Get Insights. The ROI for Get Insights is actually non-tangible, right? It is very, I would say, different per se, when you replace, for example, your chillers or your AHUs, where you can actually see immediate savings in your next electrical bill. So Get Insights, it doesn't provide you that kind of direct savings. It provides you, or what Get Insights provides you is granular visibility on how your facility is actually consuming utilities, and the users, they can then implement methods or procedures or processes to actually save the energy. So this is actually where you'll see the savings, which is why I say it's non-tangible, it's still user-driven. But for Get Control, it is slightly different, where you are able to see savings immediately, right? But the tricky thing about Get Control is that it's pretty different site to site, because every site's condition is different. So in all of our implementation, we have seen savings as low as 10%, all the way to like 25 to 30%. So it's really, I would say, subjective to the site conditions for the Get Control solution.
And from your experience, who will benefit most from using the solutions? A mixed-use development, a residential, a hotel, a commercial office building?
For Get Control solution, I think the biggest industry, or in the biggest space that can enjoy the benefits, is actually the commercial built buildings, the commercial built space, right? For the landlord, like what I mentioned earlier, they will definitely see an improvement in their chiller efficiency. And when you improve your chiller efficiency, of course, that means your total energy consumption reduces, you improve your efficiency. But not only that, you also, on the tenant side, you get what we call the improvement in comfort level. You won't have frequent complaints like, oh no, this meeting room is freezing. My pantry is like stuffy. Certain parts of the area, or the office area, seems like to be quite warm, right? So actually you eliminate all this negative feedback from your tenants, and actually you provide a better experience for your tenants. So I think there are, from both parties, there's definitely what we call benefits for this particular solution. For Get Insights, I think any industry, it is applicable to any industry, because it just measures or gives you visibility on how you're actually using your utilities. So like for Get Insights, we have customers from the industrial side, like manufacturing space. We have customers in the dormitory space. We have customers in the public sector as well as in private clubs, private country clubs, etc. So yeah, so I think I hope that I have answered this particular question.
Right. Now, you mentioned just now, the benefits that both the tenants and the landlords can enjoy. But a question here from Joe is, how would SP Digital be scalable for tenants instead of building owners?
For tenants, meaning like the tenants occupy a few levels in a building or in a different building? Like
Well, the question stops there, but I would guess, it will most probably make sense for tenants who are taking up multiple levels within a commercial building, or would it not make sense for a single floor or a single unit tenant?
No, actually, I think that's a pretty good question as well, because for Get Control solution, one of the benefits is that it's actually scalable. So it's not like day one, you need to fit out the entire building or all the levels that you occupy in day one with the solution. You can actually just start out at one level, and if you see the benefits and the advantages of this particularly deployed solution, it is extremely easy to scale up to the other levels. So from a scalability perspective, right? Get Control is actually extremely scalable. So maybe I'll just share with one use case of one of our customers, where in 2021, We just started with one level in this particular building. It's a grade A commercial building as well. And as of today, we are almost 30 levels in already. So this just proves how scalable this particular solution is.
So you could, if, for example, I just want to test it out, I could test it out, say, 2 to 3 floors before I decide to roll it out to my entire building.
Yep, that's correct. And
Okay.
recently, we are also doing what we call joint pilots with many of the different landlords in Singapore,
Mhm.
just to prove to them that Get Control can actually achieve this particular level of savings. And let's say we achieve this particular level of ROI returns, right? Then we can actually scale it up to the entire property. So we're currently doing that also. So let's say you're a landlord, you're not really got on board with this solution yet, you just want to test maybe one area, one level. We can do it as well.
Yeah, because as you mentioned earlier, almost everything is wireless. It is,
Right.
you know, you don't have to start stripping down the
Correct.
false floor
Yeah,
and all.
non-intrusive element of the Get Control solution. Yep.
Right. A question here is, does Get Control optimize the chiller plant operations or just the VAV airside control?
So our Get Control, we do not directly control anything on the chiller plant level. Most of our controls happens at the AHU level as well as the VV boxes level. So the reason why I say you'll see an improvement in your chiller plant efficiency is because the Get Control solution with all the AI algorithm, IoT and ML capabilities, right? It will always try to optimize or rather operate at the most optimized level rather than like a constant set point where your air conditioner just tries its best to always meet the set point. So according to like I would say real-time demand, whether it's the occupancy or the weather, like what I mentioned earlier, right? It will adjust the air conditioning to be always at optimized level, which is why you will see an improvement in your chiller plant efficiency. So this is quite a misconception where where our customers think that we're going to touch their chiller plants, but actually no, do not touch. Most of our work and magic happens within the AHU room as well as in the customer or tenant space, per se.
Interesting. So you don't actually have to plug into the BMS or rather to the chiller plant controls,
No,
but
yeah. No, we
okay,
do. Yeah.
interesting. Yeah, because most of the solutions people will look at how to address the chiller plant efficiency, which requires them to gain access to the chiller plants and its subsystems.
Yeah, I mean, of course, people aim there because the chiller plant gives you the biggest
Yes.
savings, right? So of course, we have other solutions that addresses the chiller plants, but I think for today's sharing session, we're just focusing on like the tenant space as well as like the AHU space, basically.
Now, you mentioned, it's the data that from Get Insights and Get Control. What it does is it helps to, you have the AI and the machine learning to do this. So does that, how does that work? And I mean, does it really require a human intervention to set the limits, or do you, it just learns over time and just gets better over time?
Yep. So for the Get Control solution, we have certain elements of machine learning that's embedded into the solution. So it will actually observe and learn the behavior of these particular buildings, like what kind of people come in, what kind of tenants come in, when people go, when is the peak load, right? So we take all this into account, and that's how we call it a dynamic control of the air conditioning. And because of this dynamic control, you can consider our Get Control solution as a solution that's always commissioning, meaning that every day you'll learn new things, it will try to work between in the different conditions. And this is why actually there's very little human intervention required for the Get Control solution.
Right. So it's almost like install it, set the parameters, what you want to achieve, and then just let it run.
Yeah, in a way, you can put it that way.
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is a very macro and an interesting question, though. What would a model building look like that meets all future requirements of thermal comfort as well as climate needs? And how can new project planners benefit from SP Digital's research on this front?
Sorry, could you, that was a really long question.
That was okay. Let me break it down a bit. I guess the question is, from your perspective, what does a model building look like? One that can meet all the future requirements for thermal comfort and climate change requirements. What would you say a model building look like? Would it be one that's highly wired up with all IoT sensors and everything is automated? In your perspective?
I think a model building is really subjective, right? So of course, I'm in SP Group, so I will use our own property as an example. So I think SP Group, we have a new built building. We have a new building that is coming up in Labrador Tower. So that building is actually certified super low energy building, right? So we have explored different technologies and different materials where we use to build that particular property. And in this Labrador Tower, we're actually using gate control solution as well for the entire building, as well as the active tube beam. So of course, I think model building to me must be something that meets firstly the BCA Green Mark requirements, right? And the thermal comfort as well is pretty subjective as well, because I might feel cold, but another person might feel warm, right? So I think this is really subjective to individual. And from SP Digital, what we can advise you is based on our experience and use case from our different customers, and advise you or advise your team to the closest that we can lah.
So I think that gels nicely with the second part of the question, right? Because earlier we were talking a fair bit about how easy it is to retrofit your solution into existing buildings. But for new projects, for greenfields, how can project planners and consultants work and with SP Digital from the from the onset to make sure that they benefit from the research that you've done, as well as are able to implement the solutions that you have proposed?
Yep. So we have worked with a couple of consultants in the industry, and what we do is we always share our findings and analysis based on what all the projects that we have implemented, right? So even for those projects that we haven't implemented, we can also do what we call a tabletop study based on your design, based on your configuration and design of the equipment, and we can input it into what we call like we have a model internally that we use, and this can actually project savings and I would say benefits that the user can get lah. So this is something that we do as part of our solutioning.
Right. So I guess you can work very upstream in the entire
Yep,
project value
that's
chain
correct.
to
Yep.
provide your
Mhm, mhm.
expertise.
Yep, that's right.
Now, here is another question on cost. Does Get Control solution require a lump sum installation cost, or is this a monthly subscription type of business?
So for our gate control solution, we actually have what we call a few different types of models. So obviously the lump sum installation cost is one model, which is the conventional CapEx kind of model, right? So at SP Digital, we are offering a different or alternate business model where it's like a lease to own OpEx kind of model, where our customers, instead of paying a lump sum CapEx at the start, what they do is they just pay a nominal fee monthly across the contract tenure. That means that there's zero CapEx upfront, and after the contractual period, right, the customer actually owns the equipment. So you can think of it like a lease to own kind of model.
Right. And usually, how long would your lease to own tenures?
We are quite flexible. So we have customers as short as 3 years. We have customers as long as 8 years. So of course, during our discussions, the customer usually let us know what is their comfort or rather comfort tenure, and we'll try to work towards the customer's requirement.
Right. So pretty much consultative in making sure
Yeah,
that
that's correct.
the clients get what they need.
Correct.
All right. Now here's a question. I think it might have been answered, but just in case I missed it, where do you install the Get Go for AHUs and chillers and let it run?
The Get Go.
I think it meant the Get Control.
Oh, okay. So we won't be going to your chiller plants at all, right? So most of our work, like what I mentioned earlier, happens within the AHU room as well as the tenant space. So we usually install our devices within the AHU room. In the AHU room, and if let's say there's some work to be done in the tenant space, meaning your VV boxes, your sensors, your actuators, then we'll probably need to enter your tenant space. So predominantly for our Get Control solution, most of our work happens within the AHU room as well as in the tenant space or in the commercial space.
Okay. Now, here's a golden question that I know everybody loves to ask, particularly because the Ministry of National Development's Committee of Supply debate was yesterday. Any government grants to support such green solutions?
Typical question as well. So we do have a grant which last year actually. So but right now we do not have. So we actually work with IMDA in one of their ADS initiatives lah. So that is for our Get Insight solution, where we try to help SMEs in different sectors to actually gain visibility on how they're actually using their equipment, or how much power they're using in their office space, etc. So recently we do not have any grant at the moment. Yeah, so of course, if there's any grant that comes about, we'll be happy to share it with you.
All right. So I believe we would be looking at some, hopefully, right, coming up, because I think the government is looking to accelerate the Singapore Green Building Master Plan. I believe based on yesterday's Committee of Supply, there was quite good progress. It's just closing that final gap. So perhaps down the road, we might see more additional government grants for that. But I think despite whether there's a grant or not, I think it's an important thing, to consider implementing such solutions, right? Because the payoff may not be immediate, as you mentioned earlier. It could take a bit of time, but it will pay off, instead of running your chiller plants at 100% load when you actually can be running it at 60%, right? But you don't have the data. But now with the data, you know how to run it more efficiently for that. So here's a new question. Can you elaborate more on how hotspots within a floor is addressed by Get Control?
Okay, so for a gate control solution, as part of the dynamic airside cooling, we actually divide your office space into different micro zones. So basically, each zone will have its own set of sensors and equipment that measures only their particular zone's parameters like temperature and humidity, right? So let's say there's a zone that is actually showing like it's getting warmer. The system will actually automatically pick it up and direct more cooling air to that particular zone while trying to maintain the same load on your AHU. So how do we do it? Is of course based on our algorithm and sensors. We will actually pick up like those zones that are probably there's no occupants there or the load is low. We'll try to reduce or rather decrease the damper opening there and then redirect more cooling air to that particular zone that requires more cooling. So this is one of the ways that we actually address all these hotspots in a particular office space.
I see. So if you happen to have a seat that's next to the window and it's the sun is up, so you can expect a bit more cool air coming in.
Yes, correct. This is why we take into account the coordinates as well, like I was sharing earlier, so that we know where the sun is shining at, like which side of the property the sun is shining at. So like for example, if the sun is shining on the west side of the property, right, the system knows that and it will try to direct more cooling air to the areas on the west side because the people there will probably feel a little bit warmer compared to the tenants on the other side of the property.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah. And you mentioned also earlier if it's expected to rain, so you might want to start pulling back on the cooling because temperature will just start coming down in a few minutes time.
Yeah, that's right.
Here's another question again on chiller plant. If we do not have a chiller plant, will the savings be substantial? That is, how many % energy savings could we be looking at?
So if you're running on like a VRV refrigerant kind of setup, right? I'm assuming that you're on this setup. The savings obviously won't be as fantastic as let's say you have your own chiller plant or chilled water AHUs. But obviously you still see certain savings, but probably between the range of maybe 5 to 10% depending on your site condition. So this is the reason why, because refrigerant is all like proprietary by the manufacturer, right? So what we can do is very limited versus if you have your own chiller plant, your own AHUs, where we can do much more.
Right. Okay, I think this is a follow-up question on the hotspots probably from the same attendee. But we already have a intelligent building management system with their thermostat sensors to control the zones of hotspots. So is that duplicative if having you on?
It is sort of duplicative. Why? Because our gate control solution, what we do is when we implement our solution, we actually take over the control of your air conditioning system and all the control of your dampers. So let's say you have existing sensors or devices, right? Like what I mentioned earlier, we will try to reuse them. But instead of going to your IBMS and see the data, we can use you can actually see it on our gate control portal. But some customers, they don't want their IBMS to be blind, right? So, and because ours is a modern system, it's a modern solution, we are able to do what we call the API interface to your BMS so that they can still see the parameters on their portal.
So you can build APIs for most BMS.
It's available already, yeah.
Right, it's already available, so it's almost a plug and play thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So final question, I think we are almost running out of time. So I'll just take one final question here. Are you suggesting Get Control is deployable by the tenant while Get Insights is to be deployed by the landlord? How can the landlord and tenant work alongside for a best optimal results?
So I think Get Insights, okay, I was just start with Get Insights first. Get Insights, I think it can be deployed by both the landlord and the tenant. It doesn't really matter. Of course, for the landlord, I think they are more interested in like their common area consumption, how much the power the lift is using, for example, right? While the tenant, they're only concerned within their own space. So it really depends. If let's say you're a big tenant, you're a major tenant, and you're occupying a large space with maybe big equipment and machinery, then of course you are able to install your own meters and get your own visibility. For Get Control, this is a little bit more I would say touchy, because in a usual setup, in the usual commercial building setup, right, the infrastructure belongs to the landlord. So the tenant only occupies that particular space that he or she leased, right? So from a Get Control perspective, the tenant will of course enjoy things like what I mentioned earlier, the thermal comfort. They will have less hotspots, less overcooling, and that is basically their benefits. And then for the landlord, from the landlord side, they will see more benefits because they actually reduce your entire overall chiller, or increase your overall chiller plant efficiency while reducing the load on your AHUs lah.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Now, with that, we've come to the end of the masterclass here today. So thank you very much, Giles. But there are some questions here about how do we contact you? Will these slides be made available? My answer is stay tuned, because we'll be sharing this screen right on your screen now. Scan it to get a copy of the presentation deck, as well as the contact details for SP Digital, which will be spd@spgroup.com.sg. And then from there, the right people will get in touch with you to speak about whether it's how they can assist you in finding out what's the right solution for you, or if you're interested to know the cost, or whether if it's even feasible for them to install their solutions in your building. So before that, Giles, do you have any last words for our attendees here today?
I think the questions that were asked were really, really good. I really hope that I tried my best to address all these questions. But of course, if let's say you have other questions that it didn't get answered in this forum, please feel free to reach out to this email, and we'll get in touch directly with you for maybe a follow-up session or a more in-depth discussion on your current requirements. So, and if not, thank you for all of your time.
Right. Thank you, Giles, and thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the very active participation in today's masterclass. Keep an eye out in your inbox for our next masterclass happening in April, and don't forget to keep your dates free for the 4th to 6th of September as the IBEW conference and BEX Asia returns in its full glory. Till then, have a great rest of the weekend ahead, everyone, and enjoy, for the Taylor Swift friends, enjoy your concerts. Take care and bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.